I would train dogs behind Chick-fil-A parking lot, $1,500 van with a $1,500 wrap on it, and that was my marketing. People underestimate the hustle muscle, getting their name out there and getting some raving fans. Your number one goal should be to rush to profitability, the difference between having a $1 million and a $3 million business.
Ryan, can you share with us how you started training dogs, how you turned that into a profitable business?
Yeah, so in 2007, I got a dog. I rescued him off the side of the road. His name was Curly, little Schnauzer Terrier mix, scruffy little dude, 2 different types of hair. One ear was permanently broken down, one stand up. He was my inspiration, really. So I loved him. He was a great little dog to me. And he was wreaking havoc in all my relationships, though, with a myriad of behavioral issues. He had aggression, potty training issues, anxiety. He would run away. He would choke himself, like coughing when you take him on walks. He'd bark nonstop all the time. Just created a lot of tension. I lost a best friend over it. It got me obsessed with dog training and behavior modification. What works, what doesn't, what's really out there. I trained dogs for other people for a few years. And then in 2010, I started Tip Top Canine and trained dogs for multiple years. After a few years, we started having like 5-6 week wait lists. And I was like, I think we got something here. I think there's a pretty big demand for what we do. We started documenting, systemizing everything, offloading some parts of it to outside vendors. And then we started with a couple corporate stores. And then we decided, hey, it doesn't take very much. So the barrier to entry to be a dog trainer is very low. Like your mom can hang the shingle and say, I'm a pro, and put up a $500 website, right? Run ads to it. So we decided, instead of running corporate stores where we'd give people equity at some point, probably, let's just give them 100% equity and let's go the franchise route. So we started franchising in 2019. Now today we got 24 locations and a lot in the works. So it's been a journey. I literally started out with a $1,500 van with a $1,500 wrap on it, and that was my marketing.
That's a good business to start. Maybe not necessarily with the van, but with solving your own problem, you can try to look for a problem to solve, but the best, easiest journeys, I say easy with trepidation because no business is easy, but it's at least that first step that so many people struggle with, to know, what problem could I solve? What's my skill? You started with a problem, learned how to solve it for yourself.
Correct.
And then started solving it for other people.
Yeah, I think passion, there's a lot of private equity firms right now. And if the founder didn't actually have real buy-in to the issue, they won't even buy out those companies. They won't even like pour money into them. They're looking for that founder, that person that has the passion and had that pain, because there's just so much more zeal for the business there.
So if I'm hearing this and I'm like, you know what? Hey, I have dogs that don't necessarily behave. I would love to train them. Side note, I was just talking to my kids about this yesterday. There's a whole world that exists. You have a good trained dog. You can create a TikTok account. You can make multi-6 figures having a well-trained dog. So like, there's money to be made in even just that side of things.
There is one of our guys in West Jordan. He's got Pete the Sport Dog, and he's been on the Utah Jazz, and people have shared his stuff. He's got hundreds of thousands of views. He's like 3 foot on a fire hydrant, where he's standing on a fire hydrant. That's 3 feet in the air. So yeah,
cool.
It's real.
Yeah. So maybe you have that need for yourself. You want to train your own dogs. And then you're hearing this episode and you're saying, okay, well, why don't I see if I can help other people?
Yeah.
Talk us through the evolution and what you need to even consider to get started. Because I know you have the franchise option,
right? But
if it's pretty simple, let's talk through what all those pieces of simple look like.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
I mean, start with even training. Like, how do you learn how to train other dogs? How do you acquire that skill?
That's great. So what we do is we do an initial 6-week training course. So other franchises out there normally do like 10, 14 days, 3 weeks. We do a 6-week initial training course, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week for 6 weeks straight.
Wow.
And before that, we do theory and sales. So for 2 or 3 weeks before that, depending on scheduling, we do theory, sales training, package explanation before they ever even come. And then dog training's hands-on. So it's the same as if you're going to be a bricklayer or anything else, you're going to apprentice, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very much, you have to hands-on, step-by-step, learn how to do it. And then you have to see like a dog with anxiety, a dog with aggression, a dog that's just hyper and crazy. And then the dog training, though, is only half of the battle. The other half, though, everyone knows, is the human training. So I got to train mom. I got to train little 9-year-old Nancy, how to make the dog not pull around the block. So we start with a 6-week initial training. We do multiple seminars throughout the year, sales trainings monthly, business coaching monthly, stuff like that too. But there's you got the dog training, the human training, and then you got the business side.
So I coach people, and I think it's the same thing. It's one thing to learn the theory. It's another thing to actually get in there and help people and teach them things and help them replicate the same process. Is that kind of the path you followed even as you got started, or did you just self-teach? I mean, I'm a big proponent of find experts, get the
Yes.
education quicker, don't try to figure it out yourself. So what was your specific path?
100% exactly what you do. Now we coach stack at another level. Used to, I would have one coach or a consultant in the area, such as marketing or sales or dog training, and I would have one person for like 4 or 5 years. Now we coach stack. Like right now, I got 5 coaches, consultants in different areas, and we coach stack. And I try to learn everything I can. What took them 15 to 20 years, I'm trying to suck out of them in 1.5 to 2 years. Like our franchise consultant right now, her name's Shannon Wilburn. She went from 0 to 150 locations across the US, managed them for 20 years, and then had to exit. Well, okay. I don't want to wait 20 years to get her experience. I would rather just pay her $1,000 an hour. So does that sound like a lot? Yes. But being able to learn from someone at that caliber just helps us grow exponentially, right? So we do the same with marketing and everything, really.
So even for yourself, were you investing in that level of coaching when you first got going? Or that's just now what you see the need to provide? Like, were you spending a lot to invest in learning, knowing you were probably going to turn this into a business?
Yes. So whenever I decided, hey, I want to go full time, I actually hired a guy to come out here. I actually maxed 8 credit cards. So 2009, if you remember, you were on the internet at that point, right? Not all your listeners might not be, but I had dial up. Right. So I opened all the windows because it didn't tab back then, for those of you who don't know. So I opened up 9 windows, 8, whatever it was. And I had all these forms because I'm like, hey, I need to pay this guy 40 grand to come train me. And because I don't know enough. And this is the only guy I really know that's pretty good. So I open up all these tabs. I fill out all the things. And then I go submit, next window, submit, next window, submit. And they all went through because it's going to the server and then it's slowly coming back. Right. And they all went through. So then I went, well, I'm just going to fill out another one. And at that point, it blanked. So obviously, if you're a listener, not ideal. So I wouldn't recommend that. I was young. I didn't have any other options. No one's loaning me money.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. So I swipe all those cards. That was my first real consultant, was a trainer. Second one was a sales coach, right? He was a sales coach. That helped me double and triple my business. Just, I needed to learn how to do the service better. And then next, you need to learn how to sell better. And then next, you need to learn how to get more leads. And then next, business coach, learn how to grow people better. Now, I have 2 franchise consultants. Now we're keep going. And our marketing consultants now are at a whole nother level. Like the Facebook consultant we use right now is more than all of my guys originally an hour combined. So we just keep leveling up. I even know who my next 2 consultants are going to be. We're just not there yet. That's the way you got to do it, though. Just the same as you.
You talk about bending time, essentially, is what you're saying. You're willing to go and spend $1,000 an hour for someone, which if people are listening, we're not trying to say that is the only path, but that is definitely, you pay with time or money, right? And
yes. Everybody pays.
I've gone down the path. We all pay some point. I've gone down the path of trying to save money and spend my time. And it took me way too long to discover that I was costing myself money. The quicker that I had the skill acquired, the quicker that I could market and sell something and get better at all of those pieces, the more money I was going to be making faster. So it is a really smart tactic or just strategy to keep in mind if you know what you want to do. I think the dangerous thing comes when you're like dabbling and you're spending thousands to try out different businesses.
Yeah.
So you have to have that conviction, which it sounds like you did have, to be willing to invest 40 grand.
Yeah. And I saw that on some of your shorts too, like people that are dabbling, that's just a recipe for disaster. If you're dabbling, so then you hire a consultant for sales in a service-based business and a consultant for manufacturing as well. Your focus is split. In the beginning, I'm hiring one and I'm working on this one thing. I'm working on just the service, the dog training. Because if the service isn't good and I don't have product market fit, it doesn't matter. Once I have that, then my next one is a sales consultant, which makes sense. Hey, people want what I have, but now how can I learn how to sell it better at higher prices? And then once I can do both of that, let's get more leads. And then after that, okay, how do I build teams? Okay, now I got that. Now I need to build a call center because I have multiple teams. Now I need that back office support, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
But if you spread it across too many different industries, it's hard, like you were saying.
Exactly. When you're toggling too much, you never dig deep. One of our other hosts of this show, Justin, did an episode about this. I'm like, if you're constantly just digging shallow holes, you're never getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think there's a high to that as an entrepreneur where it's just fun to do the beginning ideation phase, but you're missing out on the fun of when you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually working. I'm building upon this. There's actually so much creativity and variety as you keep going. I mean, even just you explaining There's so many little fun pieces that you get to get stronger at and learn. So good sound advice. So let's go back to our person who's starting a business like this. We've
Yeah.
obviously conveyed the need for good education. That's why we have podcasts like this too.
Yeah.
This is like your entry point, your 101 class on just learning what it's going to take. So to keep giving perspective, I know you've talked about the steps that we have to go into sales. Anything else you would add, though, in terms of training and being prepared to actually start working with clients? How do you get those first clients? How do you get people willing to let you try on their dog if you're maybe just doing this on your own?
Yeah. So in the beginning, the best thing is kind of that ready, fire, aim approach or the lean startup approach, where you're throwing your service, your product out there for as low a cost as possible. And you're trying to just get in front of people to make sure you have that product market fit. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter how good you are at sales. You'll have to be like a used car slimy salesperson, right? If it's not a good product or service, then you're going to feel weird selling it. People's sales radars are going to go off. So in the beginning, you do whatever you can to get leads. I would train dogs behind Chick-fil-A parking lot in 2009, 2010. I would train it with a wrap vehicle, 3 dogs in public for 3 hours. And people would go, hey, what are you doing? I'd be like, oh, I'm a professional dog trainer. What's your name and number? I'll come out and I'll show you what I can do with your dog. And they'd be like, no. Or someone would say, okay. And that was my first lead gen. So I literally did that hours a day until I could build a website. That was our lead gen. It was just very aggressive. We're in public, very public places. So now we use, Google ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, but on the ground too. So home shows, meet and greets with vets and groomers. So say anyone has a business, say you're window washing, say you're doing anything, pooper scooper service came to the door. Hey, we'd like to pooper scoop for you. Oh, thanks. We got people for that. Could I do the first one for free? Yeah. Yes. Okay, sure. And guess what? They did a phenomenal job. So now when we have events, we contract them, right? But that's them putting hustle muscle when they don't have it really rolling. So I think people underestimate the hustle muscle, getting out there, doing some real budget, low, cheap priced work, getting their name out there and getting some raving fans. That's really important if you're starting.
I have never, in all the years I've been interviewing entrepreneurs, heard that term hustle muscle, but I'm obsessed with it. I don't know what book I didn't read yet or what rock I've been living under, but I love a good rhyme, a good acronym, good, what's it called, alliteration. So that's amazing. And it's so true. I think we, especially at the age of the internet, want business. We want to figure out all the pieces so we can avoid that initial hustle that has to go into building a business.
Yeah.
I was just talking to an entrepreneur friend yesterday who's doing similar things. She has a children's clothing line. She's going to places physically where it's not, people aren't coming to buy children's clothing, but they're people who are in her ideal customer pool. They're wanting to spend more money at farmers markets. They're just in a different category. So she's making sure she's networking and having conversations with her ideal person. So maybe it's not as outward as literally dog training where everybody can see it, but that physical visibility when you maybe don't have the budget to run ads, or let's be honest, the know-how, that's like throwing money in a garbage can and lighting it on fire when you're starting.
That's so funny.
So it's smart.
Yeah, so I literally just talked to the Tampa location and he was like, oh man, I was editing my ads and I was like, whoa, we have 2 marketing companies on contract. I was like, until you have enough cash to put it in the fire to warm your family, never touch your own ads, right? Unless you've gone through a course, we have professionals for that because you can burn money fast. And he $4,500 like that, just thinking he wanted to see what's up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, so I love that. Start with just getting nitty gritty, getting out there, let people see what you're doing. Don't be afraid to flex the hustle muscle.
Flex it.
Where do we go from there?
So from there, and this is where the franchise model comes in. So a lot of your listeners have probably read or heard of the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, right? And making systems. So from there, at some point in your business, you need to say, I'm not going to work 90 hours a week until I die, right? Unless you subscribe to that toxic culture of work till you have a heart attack and die at 50, right? I don't. So the better way is use leverage, and that's where employees come in. So at some point, the young entrepreneur, the new business owner needs to say, hey, here's my service. I'm going to checklist it. I'm going to document everything that I do. You could do it on video. You could do it on paper, but you need to document it. And then you need to take that document and give it to someone else that's not you and see how they perform it on your product, your service, etc. And then what's going to happen is something's going to break because they're not you. They don't have all the background. They know how you do. So you're going to give them that checklist. It's going to break. You're going to fix it. Then you're going to give them a second version. So it's going to break. Once it's good, then you let them run. You do sales. And then you hire a third person. You give the new checklist, version 8, whatever it is, to the new person and vet it and see if it's actually sufficient. Right? So that's how you do in the beginning. You start to scale and someone's like, and I didn't want to do it. You like the service or product you provide. You don't want to sit down and document it. But if you want to grow, that's how you have to do it. And now with all the AI tools, it's way easier to have it transcribe and checklist. But I did it, manually.
Yeah, back in the days when you had to walk to school uphill before
Right.
That's seriously how it's starting to feel,
Yeah.
right? You look at little things that you didn't even think were hard, but now that
Right.
they can be done in seconds, you're like, oh my gosh, no wonder it's taken me so long to get here.
My first systems folder was a 3-ring binder and that I had to hole punch the papers that I printed off myself and put them in there. It's not like that anymore.
Talk about hustle muscle with that.
Yeah.
You ever had to work a 3-ring binder, had to 3-hole punch that many
Yeah.
papers, you know the pain. Our children will never know.
No.
So yeah, I was actually going to ask that and say, have you found any really cool ways, any direct, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory to use the AI, speak it
Yeah.
into the system. Any other tools that you found that really help with this?
Yeah, we actually made a Chat GPT custom GPT sales trainer, and it's working really good. So we actually upload the scripts to it and upload the objection rebuttals, everything, and then role play with it and teach it how to be the client. And then we set 3 different levels, like, hey, this is a basic, easy one where the person can practice. This is intermediate. This is advanced with multiple objections, hidden objections, spousal objections, budget issues, etc. And it allows a really hard role play because the AI doesn't care about being cutthroat, right?
Yeah.
And so it allows for like multiple iterations of role play at a very, very fast level and very difficult level, where I can coach someone or one of my guys can coach someone on the side while they're interacting with the client. And that's actually really sped up our sale, because we take people that are not salespeople and we want it to be a non-salesy process where they're just doing a consultation. So it's important that they understand how to talk to people, and then it's like fluid. So I would say customizing Chat GPT to be a custom sales trainer to help you practice would be really valuable for anyone.
Yeah, my wheels are turning even in my business. Like, I can use this to help people role play in situations. So I do emotional intelligence coaching for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's one thing to theoretically think through how you're going to engage in something, overcome something, especially interpersonal.
Right.
And I'm like, man, so if they could put in some data that would help that AI essentially be the person they need to have the hard conversations with,
Yeah.
or whatnot, like that would be really powerful.
Yeah. You can literally build 5 profiles and be like Screaming Karen, who's highly emotional and irrational, right?
Yeah.
And be like, hey, let's go to level 10 Karen.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
I love where I sit doing this podcast because I always get new ideas. Sometimes it's to a dangerous fault, but we've got good ones. So I appreciate the tip.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I love that, being able to start building those systems so you can start outsourcing. I'm curious, even for yourself, are you still coaching dogs? Are you still training dogs yourself? Or at what point did you recognize, you know what, I want to shift out of being the operator and doing the thing into overseeing and being more the CEO?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think sometimes people want to stay in that role and they don't want to be forced into the CEO role. And I think you can pick your path. So what was that like for you?
You can definitely pick your path, whether you're the operator or the owner. So for a long time, I had Robert Johnson, my first sales and executive coach. He was like, hey, if you really want to grow this, you're going to have to put down the leash and put on your CEO hat. For a long time, I couldn't do it. Like, I understand what he's saying. And for a long time, my heart wasn't there. I loved the training, the difference I'm making in dogs' lives. I loved it too much. Once I got married and my wife said the same thing, I was like, brilliant, babe. Brilliant. You're right. I should do that. So at some point, it made sense. But for a long time, it wasn't about the money. I love training dogs. I'm seeing this massive transformation. We're keeping dogs out of shelters. I'm training aggressive dogs. No one else is willing to work. It was just too emotionally rewarding. I couldn't give it up. Eventually, I put down the leash for the most part. I still pick it up because I'm the boss. And I had to put that CEO hat on.
Yeah. Well, and probably you were ready to. I think there's really strong value in staying in if you're wanting to be there, if you're wanting to be the operator, if it lights you up, you're only going to continue to learn and get better at your craft, which then makes you a really good leader.
Right.
It makes you a really good CEO. So I don't think that there's a right or wrong. I think people need to not jump the gun if they're not ready. So I think
Yes.
the time, it wasn't necessarily you heard it for the first time with your wife saying it. The timing
Right.
was just right. And you were ready to shift gears in your business. And I think that's something that can be really personal and intuitive for people. And I just want to give the context that there are multiple paths. So
There is multiple
there's more
paths.
money in leading.
There is. But yeah, leadership is the thing, though. So it's a difference between, hey, I'm operating and I love the service I provide, and hey, I'm ready to be a transformational leader. That is, my focus is now on growing people. Like, I have to grow people now instead of providing a service. And it's two very different things and a very different mindset, different levels of maturity, different coaching, different focus is needed for that.
Well, and I think too, you're not giving up on the dogs either to do that. It's still tied to the love of changing the dog's life.
Absolutely.
Because now you're expanding and giving more people the chance to have that skill set to create those transformations. So multiplying yourself, I think when you ditch your ego to think, oh, but I'm the only one who can do it this well.
Yeah.
That's where you have to, I love the analogy, you just put the leash down, hand the leash over to more people.
Yeah. The ego is not your amigo. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you are full of them. Good one-liners today.
I stole that one from Melissa Harris. She's a speaking coach, but
love it.
Yeah.
Taking that one with me too, sticking that in my pocket. Okay, so we have those initial clients. We're starting to grow. We're systematizing, growing our team. I think you said your next step is like enhancing your sales, right? Really understanding how to close more customers, because then you have the budget to pay more people to help you run the business.
Correct. You have to bump your margins so you can have enough extra profit to bring in some A players. Because if you really want to scale, if you want to keep it me plus 3, you can have B players and you're fine. But at some point, you're going to have to bring in some high quality talent, and high quality talent needs to be paid a little bit more than average, or a lot more than average in some cases. So the sales, so I can pay a little bit more. And then after I get my sales handled, then it's team building. I need to build that initial team, right? Depending on your product or service, that team size is going to look different. After I can build the team, really the next thing, this is where I see a lot of, like, my friends in particular, they get stuck. They have their sales going good. They've built their team. They're stuck in this loop between their team operating, doing sales, and then all the back office work. The back office work, if you will obsess on it, answering the phone, customer service, billing, payroll, if you'll obsess on that and get that on lock so it operates with you dealing with it 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, you will be able to actually grow way faster. But the administrative stuff has to be unlocked. People need to know how to make decisions without you. So like our locations, there's a lot of people out there that know how to train dogs. A lot of methods, everything can work. The reason why our locations grow isn't because they're exponentially better. Now, they are better dog trainers, but we have full back office support. We answer their phones. We do their payment plans. If they have 12 trainers, we make all their calendars. We chase their clients around for billing, etc. We handle all their reschedules. We ship all their products to them, right? So they don't have to worry about that. We're handling 95% of their issues. And that's what I needed. When I had to manage that myself, normally the operator that goes into that CEO role, they're not administratively focused, right? So they should be, but they don't love that side of the business. But putting that on lock, getting it 100% handled where you have someone that can make those decisions, that's what a lot of people, the difference between having a $1 million and a $3 million business where you're not pulling your hair out, is making sure that customer service side, the administrative side, is completely locked down. And part of it is also additional training for the office staff that is also not your focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and when I said like you shouldn't be doing that stuff, I think that's the CEO stepping into that So do you feel like there's a season where you do have to be the one creating the administrative SOPs and all of
Yep.
that, and knowing that you're doing that to hand that over and make sure that it can run without you?
Yes, 100% you have to. So like there was a time I spent 6 months on call center software, right? 6 months on call center software, calendar software. But that's what enabled us to scale.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our bookings went up 10%. We're now able to train people in 3 to 6 days instead of 14 to 21. Like those are big changes. So if I have 24 locations, a 10% bump in booking because it's more efficient, and being able to train people in 20% of the time, it's a game changer. But is that a fun 6 months? No, absolutely not.
Again, it's that hustle muscle. You have to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of times I even look back at different businesses that I've worked in and worked on, built, and I think you can even get stuck in that admin stage where you think like you don't want to hand that leash over either. And so you have to come at it in the right mindset approach that I'm not doing this to be the administrator for my business forever.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because if you do hand it over too soon, or you don't know as the leader what has to be done for it to work really well, and you're waiting for someone else to take charge, you can spend a ton of money on the wrong people and not actually move the needle forward in your business. So kind of just knowing where you fit into that, what the bigger picture is, what the ideal timeline is. So good advice. All right. So once you've done that, once you're starting to increase sales, I know you mentioned, I think the next step is like increasing your marketing. So initially, when you have those salespeople, are these boots on the ground people? We're not even getting into complex marketing. We're just more people that are doing what you did.
Correct.
Getting more clients through the door.
In-home consultations, we go out. Hi, Mrs. Jones. So nice to meet you. This is Fluffy. Oh my gosh, cutest dog ever. We work with Fluffy, show Mrs. Jones what we can do, wow her with our personal dog, and then be like, all right, Mrs. Jones, this is our package. It's $600 to $6,000. What do you want to do? Right? And just help her make a decision. No pressure sales, right? Just, hey, what do you want to do, Mrs. Jones? Help her through that. And then train your dog. That's it. So boots on the ground, in home, rock and roll.
Are your people typically then, if they're out there doing those demonstrations, your salespeople are also trained trainers, right?
Yes,
like
it's normally the best trainers are the ones going out to assess the dog and so we do full money back guarantees. So we're going to make sure that dog and the mom have very clear expectations based off what we saw today. This is what I can do in 6 lessons. This is what I can do in a 2-week board and train. Yeah.
Well, that's even an important point to make too. I think a lot of times we get really overexcited and we just want to book the client and then say yes to everyone, or we try and get yes from everyone.
Yeah.
So I love that. I mean, the money back guarantee is something that's obviously going to reduce, some of the pushback from the buyer, but even just you being honest to say, what can we actually do? What's the realistic expectation? That takes a lot of wisdom and patience and emotional intelligence, honestly, to not just say, we can help everybody and we can help every single type of dog and we can do it super fast. So how did you get to that point where, was it just part of the training process to know and be able to assess dogs really well?
Well, so I've seen other people in the dog industry in particular, but other industries as well. And they make the sale, but then they alienate the client. And now they have this terrorist client out there breathing fire about their business. That's not worth it. To make a few $1,000 sale and now you have a fire breathing terrorist talking about your company. And so if we just say straight up, hey, when you go out there, you do what's best for Mrs. Jones. Otherwise, if she refunds, we're going to take it out of your check. And they go, oh, okay, I better make sure Mrs. Jones gets exactly what's best for her. And then everyone's incentivized on the same lines, right? And that's just part of it's a culture thing. So my favorite people to turn into salespeople is non-salesy salespeople. At our corporate store, my top lady right now is very shy, right? She's our top seller. You know what her secret is? She just does what's best for the client. She's real. She doesn't sell them. She just literally listens, puts their priorities first, and they trust her. Wow, what a crazy concept, right?
Oh, there's some people who just have that natural ability. I feel like anytime I've tried to think about sales and tried to plan or learn, I mean, there's nothing wrong with enhancing your skill set, but I have always had so much more success with that mindset without overthinking that I'm trying to sell something. it makes it a million times easier, more fun for both parties, and just feels better. So if
Yeah.
only, it's one of those tricky things. How do we teach this without getting so logistical that we forget the humanity and the emotional component to selling? It's $1 million question.
It is. I think it's hard. If they see it demonstrated first, it's always easier. So if they see someone go in, not trying to hard close or force sell them, and they see it as relational selling, and I'm going to go in there, I'm going to give them massive value, and then I'm going to put the ball in their court and then see what they want to do. And I'm going to make it around their budget, not what package I want to push. And if they see it done first, then it's easier for them. And so we rarely will bring in anyone from an actual like sales culture type place because they might sell stuff, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. Okay, so now when we shift into marketing, what are we looking at with this? We've obviously got a pretty good hold of who we serve, how we help them. With your business, even specifically, you obviously had a wide range of clientele, and people who own dogs is a really big market.
Yes, it is.
Did you do anything specific to make your message stand out, or what are your recommendations with that in terms of moving into marketing?
Yeah, moving into marketing, I think depending on your product or service, if you're a new entrepreneur, you shouldn't assume who your buyer is. You should go get buyers and then figure out who your buyer is, right? So we have people anywhere from low income to exceptionally high income, all do like $3,000 to $6,000 boot camps. Like we will go to 1-bedroom apartments and someone does a $4,000 board and train, which kind of is like, that's weird. Seriously? And then we'll go to huge houses, 10,000 square foot houses, and they'll do a $600 few lesson package. Different people place a different value on their dog. Some people, it's their children, right? This is my human child. He just has 4 legs and a tail. But to them, this is their human child and no price is too high. Someone else, this is like, hey, this is my backyard dog. And I'm like, backyard dogs are still a thing? What are you talking about? But, everyone's kind of different. So for the new entrepreneur, I'd recommend put your product and your service out there, get your clients, and then look. So as far as marketing goes, we're looking on the back end on the report. So say Google ads, we know, hey, my cost per conversion from 18 to 25-year-olds is very high and they aren't the biggest buyer, right? So then we can turn that off. But I need a lot of data points to be able to do that. So in the beginning, we kind of have to run it for all markets, all demographics. So right now I know based off data from like Google ads, hey, 35 to 65-year-old, predominantly women, that's going to be my highest lifetime value client at the lowest conversion cost, right? It's the mom's calling. Hey, I got 2 kids and Fluffy's eating pizza off the counter and jumping on the children.
Yeah. So you're just, and I think we kind of talked about this in the beginning, instead of trying to figure out the problem, you already know the problem. The same thing applies to your buyers. Don't try to just theoretically in a vacuum figure out who the ideal person is you're marketing to. That's why marketing should come later. And I think a lot of people lead with marketing, especially in this era of the online marketing world we live in, where they want to craft the perfect offer and just get the messaging down. And you cannot nail the messaging if you haven't talked to actual people or know what your perfect client really wants or what works.
Yes.
So I think that's an important
You should
step.
say that again. You cannot nail the marketing unless you talk to actual people.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, as good as AI is, there's still a level of generic that comes through when you're trying to nail messaging. And there's nothing that replaces a real conversation that I've had with a client that I can then turn that into marketing content and email messages. That is the power. And so for you, what are some of the big differentiators in you knowing we're going to land a client? And like, what goes into your messaging? Are you focusing on, this is the core problem we solve? We see the highest desire for our people, because it can be really broad. So how do you stand out in your marketing?
Yeah. So part of it is just A/B testing copy. So you're just saying, hey, we have a 2 to 4 week board and train results guaranteed versus 2 to 4 week board and train, 100% of your homework is done for you. Right. And literally just testing copy. So like right now on my ads in Tulsa, he's running 14 different headlines, right? Different variations. And then he'll cut the bottom half and then he'll put 7 more. And he keeps doing that until we somewhat level out.
Find the best one.
As other people's ads change, sometimes ours change a little bit as well, right? But part of it is you kind of have to get some data points first.
Well, and having an offer, right? Like, which also comes from boots on the ground, working with people. Because I'm sure initially when you started, maybe you had the coaching that helped you figure this out. But there's the service you provide, and then there's figuring out how to break that into those different price points, how to figure out what is the point when we're coming in that most people are going to enter in. And so if you're just running ads and saying, I can train your dog, too broad, too big, not going to really call anyone in, but you being able to say those specific things and know what the offer is. That's the difference between offer and the thing that you're actually providing, right? Like the service is different than the offer.
It's a huge point. Yeah. So as far as our initial offer goes, right now we do a $1 first lesson. So, hey, your first lesson with Tipped Up Canine is only $1. We started with a free demo and then free demonstration. And then we went to $59 assessment, $29 assessment, free consultation, and then $1 lesson. So we've done 7 variations, right? Or $1 lesson, $1 first lesson. So 7, 8 variations. And the $1 lesson actually works the best for us. But we've actually done all those initial offers. Our packages, I literally started with 2 packages, one for private lessons, one for board and train. Because I'm in front of people, they were saying, I'd really like to do twice as many lessons. And I'm like, oh, well, this is how many lessons I do. And then after the 4th or 5th person says, can I do more lessons? I'm not a genius, but I say, yeah, what if we do 8 instead of 4 and I double the price? And they say, cool. I was like, wow, that worked. Right. So like our superstar package. Yeah. So weird. Our superstar package, it's $7,000, right? Well, when I first started, I had one and it was like $3,000 was our top one. And I had multiple people go, well, what if I want more than that? And again, after the 3rd guy, I was like, well, I mean, I keep your dog for twice as long for $6,000 and do twice as much. And they're like, all right. And I'm like, wow. But I don't know that there's a market for that until, like you said, I'm out there talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we talk numbers even more? I mean, I know that the numbers can vary with the way that people come in and what they choose to charge, but I want to talk through this in terms of when you really get into scaling and wanting to make 7 figures from this.
Yeah.
Just break down some of the ratios. How many trainers can really, or how many dogs can one trainer handle? So what would it take to have a 7-figure business, not in profit, but revenue?
Yeah, good question. So it's going to vary a little bit. We have some locations that are focused predominantly on private lessons, right? Where one trainer can do 5 to 6 lessons a day. And then some where they do board and trains where we take and train the dog. So our average sale right now is about $2,400 to $2,600, right? So you have some trainers. So like my corporate team in Tulsa, our dogs are mostly on time on the boot camp. Someone can literally take 50% more dogs just because of higher skill level than someone else. Part of it also is a little bit on management. So right now our average location last year in our franchise disclosure document, the average location did $555,000, right? And 40% of them were home-based.
Okay.
Yeah. So getting to 7 digits with dog training is doable. You really need a facility to do over $1 million though.
And you're doing all of the board and train in the physical location. This isn't people taking the dogs home and having a full immersive experience.
We do. So normally, like in the very beginning, a lot of people will start in home because we want them to rush to profitability. So on that note, anyone listening, new entrepreneur, your number one goal should be to rush to profitability right after you figure out exactly what your client wants. Right after you have product market fit, then you need to rush to make sure you can actually have profit. Then so you can do everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So we start them in home, normally 3 dogs at a time, depending on city limits, maybe 4. In the boot camps, they range anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a dog. So say one trainer, an owner operator, he can do say 8 boot camps by himself and a handful of private lessons a month. Well, so say they're average $4,000 a boot camp and he's kind of selling in the middle. That's one person can do, $25,000, $35,000 a month out of their house. It's just, they're not going to have any life balance.
Yeah. That's true. So you have to take all of that into consideration, especially if you are doing it out of your house.
Yeah.
But it is possible to rush to that profitability, like you said. Even if you're like, hey, my first goal is $15,000 a month, it's going to be a little bit of that hustle, muscle, and flexing. I'm
Yeah.
going to have a little bit of wonky balance, but then I'm going to have the capital to be able to invest in location, to start hiring
Correct.
people to
Yes.
help me scale. Okay. So I know it is. It sounds like it's pretty nuanced then, because the pricing varies and then the offer itself varies with the amount of time that it takes. But
Mhm.
on average, it's good. It's good to hear those numbers. You're looking at about $500,000 in revenue
Yeah.
on a pretty average scale business.
Yep.
So
And that's with
good.
40% of the people home based.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Amazing. Okay, so after you've marketed, you've mastered that, and
Right.
I even want to get a little bit specific into what because you mentioned this with the franchise.
Yeah.
Is it a pretty traditional franchise model? Because it sounds a little different. They're not
No,
just
it's
buying
weird.
the franchise. It
I
sounds
don't
like
fit
you're
in.
still supporting. Yeah, you're supporting the back end and helping them. I've seen people do this with like digital, where they have a company that they pay
Right.
to manage customer service. Sounds like you're running a lot of the back end stuff for them, so they can
In-house.
just focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether you franchise, whether someone wanted to open up a tip top or whether they're on their own, after they're getting all those leads in and they've built their team, the next step is that back office, right? The administrative part. So I'm on the second story of our building and we have 14, 15 people in here for the call center right now. So all 24 locations, they're booking all their stuff, booking all their appointments, taking all their payments, etc. So one of the hardest things, if someone is, say, that guy that's in home, he's got, 4 or 5 dogs at a time, he's training, he can't be answering the phone every time it rings.
Mm-hmm.
And if dog trainers will bill out, and this is any service-based industry, plumber, electrician, if the plumber's going to bill out for $150 to $200 an hour, should he do a $15 to $20 an hour job of answering the phone? No, absolutely not. So if the dog trainer bills out for $150 to $250 an hour, it makes sense for someone to answer the phone for the dog trainer.
Mhm.
And the dog trainer is a very kinesthetic, touchy-feely, doggy person. What do you think the odds are that they're going to be good at administrative tasks? They're not.
No.
They're going to be horrible. The person's drawn to that career. So it's a 6%. So our royalties are a little different. Most service-based industries in dog training, they charge like an 8% royalty, which is like an ongoing fee. We charge a 6%, but we help our people grow faster, so we can actually make a little bit more off that 6% than other companies do on 8%, right? But we leave a little meat on the bone for them. And then we charge a 6% call center fee to handle all their stuff. So right now, if you look online, most small businesses under $1 million, they range anywhere 8 to 15% of their revenue, their gross revenue, is going towards administrative costs.
Wow.
So we're doing, I'd say 90% of that for 6%. Because we have economies of scale, I can answer the phone, say you open up a location, I can answer the phone for you 65 hours a week. And if you train your own person, when they call in sick, you're answering the phone for them and not training dogs, right?
Yeah.
So the back office, getting it on lock is super important.
So are they paying a flat fee too for the franchise, like for the name and all of that kind of stuff? And then those are just fees that are ongoing?
Yep. Yes.
Cool. What made you decide to do that? Was it because I know, like we've said, we've had a lot of franchisers on here. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Did you see that being done somewhere else? Like, did you just feel so passionate about providing the administrative side, knowing that was the biggest pain point? Like, what drove that decision?
The decision to do all the back office was really driven from my pain, right? So early on in my career, I'm answering the phone and I'm training an aggressive pit bull in a small backyard with a pool. And my phone rings and I'm like, I'm a starving dog trainer. I got to answer this phone, right? It's like 2011. I'm like, I got to answer the phone. And if I answer the phone, I might get bit by this pit bull. And if I don't answer the phone, I don't know where my Chipotle is coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real conundrum. And so then I don't answer the phone. I call him back. And now I'm driving to my next appointment and I'm about to get in a wreck because I'm trying to do the calendar while I'm driving. And I'm like, hey, this is just not viable. So if it's not viable for me, it's definitely not going to be viable for anyone else. And that's, again, the back office is really just our secret to scale. And I think for any new entrepreneur, anyone trying to get over that million hump, the back office support on lock is going to be the magic bullet for them to scale too, because they're not dealing with those $15 and $20 tasks. They're able to do the big service, like training of salespeople, training the fulfillment. That's going to be focusing on marketing. Those are the bigger money items.
I love it. It sounds like that's totally your differentiator in your business. And It's smart. It's smart to, again, you found a problem that you personally have that you can solve just at scale in a
Right.
totally different market, different problem. But I think that's a lesson to be gleaned from this, among many other, and all the great sound bites, is find new problems that you can solve, find ways that you can make that simple. And that can literally be your competitive advantage in a world where people are doing a lot of the same things you are. Just
Yeah.
find the unique problem, identify the pain, and make it so much better. So I love that. Good insight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, where can people go if they want to learn more and maybe they're interested in franchising or they just want to connect with you?
Yeah. If they're interested in franchising, they go to tiptopk9.com, tiptopk9.com. Click on the franchising tab, fill out the form. Our team will give you a call. If you're interested in connecting with me, I'm on LinkedIn. That's it. Just LinkedIn. Normally super focused on franchising, but they're like, you got to be on somewhere. So I'm on LinkedIn.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, being an open book, and walking us
Absolutely.
through all of the chapters of how you build a profitable dog training business. It's been so fun to learn.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.